everybody. Welcome to the Latched Mama podcast. It is Melissa here. It is Wednesday in Virginia. The sun is finally out after a few snowy days, and I'm excited about today's podcast. COVID is still going on. It's a little hard to get face-to-face guests. So Lindi and I are going to sit together today and answer some of your questions, and I'm super excited. Some of them are more detailed than others. We're going to try and hit on as many as we can. Not an expert, just an experienced parent and business owner at this point. So, hope you guys enjoy it. You're listening to the Latched Mama podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, business owner and tired mom of 5. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, nursing, parenting, and all things motherhood. You're all cuddled up over there.
I am.
It's kind of a little sweet.
Snuggling in
for our little fireside chat minus the fire. Anyways, we are going to talk about some questions, and some of them we get a lot. Some of them are the first time I'm hearing them. Some of them make me a little sad. I don't know. I feel like motherhood's hard sometimes. I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of weight in some of these questions. Yeah. That just makes me want to go get people hugs, which I feel like was what last podcast was about. Yeah. It's in a hugging mood.
Hopefully we can give you a virtual hug today.
Virtual hugs, guys, for everybody. Virtual
all around.
Virtual COVID hugs. All right. So we're going to get started. All right. Shoot. First question.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Jennifer and Michelle would like us to chat more on our clothing and manufacturing process.
Oh, okay. So we're going to talk Latched Mama for a second. For those of you who don't care about our clothes and manufacturing, stay tuned because we're going to talk about parenting on the other side of this. We get this question a lot, since we started the company. We don't hide the fact our clothes are made in China. But it's always been my goal since we started the company to perhaps bring manufacturing to the United States at some point. I'm slow at answering this question because there are a lot of things that go into it. And honestly, it's not just a money thing. We as a company, every 6 months, dive into what it would cost to make our top styles in the United States. We are extremely committed to trying to bring our manufacturing here. There are benefits. If it was here, we could have more control over it. Tariffs are super high at this point. We could get it quicker. But really the only way that we could get anywhere close to the prices that you guys see right now in the United States, if we had it made in the United States, was to have our own team of cutters and sewers and have our own manufacturing facility, which we are not anywhere near ready to do.
I don't even think we'd come close to costs unless down the road the manufacturing units were so high. Then you can start to kind of as far as on material knitting and things like that. But
I mean, and there's some companies who do it different ways. They buy their textiles overseas and then they manufacture here. There are definitely different ways we could do it and different ways we could make it happen. I mean, the last time we costed it, do you even remember? Was it 3 times, 4 times the cost to make it?
It was more than 3 times the cost.
And that's not going to the fashion district in New York. That is going to a rural Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, factory, where they're probably, my guess would be paying minimum wage, to try and make the clothes. It's interesting though to think about what's wrong with China? There's so many different, drawbacks that people have with overseas manufacturing. Is it the fact that the business is going to another country? I mean, that's where some people get hung up. Some people get hung up on the fact that they think it's a bunch of sweatshops and that we're not taking care of our people and the working conditions and things like that. I can't really talk on the idea that the money's going to China because I honestly feel like as a business owner and with the ethics behind Latched Mama in general, I am so committed to my people that I feel like even with the actual clothes made in China, I am making a substantial difference in kind of the way moms are treated in the workplace and the culture at Latched Mama. We have people who aren't moms that work for us, but I feel like I'm making a difference culturally, in the sense that people are enjoying coming to work, and there are many people who work for us that probably are much happier with us than they would be someplace else. So that aside, then you kind of dive into, what do the working conditions look like? Are we on top of that? Do we know where our clothes are made? And the answer to all of that is yes. I mean, Lindi and I see pictures constantly of what the lines look like, what the packing and shipping lines look like, what the manufacturing looks like. I mean, you interact with them probably more than I do.
Right.
Do you have thoughts on it?
I mean, just going back to those pictures, it's
Yeah.
incredibly reassuring. I mean, we see incredibly clean sewing floors and, the machines and tables and quality control and things like that. And I think I'm maybe not assuming, but like as we grow, there will be put into place maybe extra quality control steps. Having larger teams or things like that, or eventually, I know this is kind of COVID time, but literally before COVID hits, we were renewing a passport, and we were going to go over, and as our manufacturing's grown, to be more hands-on there and to see what was going on. Now we've, it's kind of changed a little bit, but I'd like to think that that's kind of on the horizons when we can. We really like to be involved, and I on a daily basis. Communication.
I think probably the next step, which seems very large to me as a mom of 5 and a growing business, would probably be to invest in our own manufacturing facility overseas first. One that we definitely had a whole lot of control over, the ones that we could maybe implement some of our cultural things that we do at Latched Mama, whether it be supporting moms or, helping that situation. I feel like that would probably be the next step as a company. But I think it's important with all the people who asked us this question to really, really reassure you all that it is 100% on our radar. It's not like we send a tech pack out and we say, okay, send us some clothes, and then we go pick them up from a shipping container and we look at it. Like literally every 1, 3, 5, 10-year plan is moving closer and closer to us making sure that every single part of this process of designing and making you all clothes is touched by us, so we can add the same love and attention that we add to the design, shipping, and customer service side that we do right now. So hopefully that answers the questions.
Right now, I think it's a pretty amazing balance with what you have, because there's no outsourcing of customer service overseas. There's no outsourcing of fulfillment overseas. We literally do the entire thing up to handing over a pattern and a tech pack and saying, this is exactly how we want it done. And they do the production there. So, I mean, to be honest, probably, we handle 85% of it. It's in, it's on American soil.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to say, like, are these same people, and I understand it's the actual clothes and it's the actual product, but are these same people reaching out to every company who has outsourced their customer service or has outsourced their fulfillment and asking the same questions? And I hopefully they are. But you do have to pick and choose, especially when you're not a company that is incredibly funded, or a company like literally we don't take money from investors simply because I don't want somebody to walk in and be like, why are their kids at work? Or why is this person still employed? Just because they're struggling or they have PPD or I've paid for them to have a month off and go to therapy. Like, I don't need anybody up in my shit about that, So it's like there are decisions that we make which then limit our cash flow, which then make it so we have to make decisions like making our clothes overseas. So, cool. All right, next question.
All right. Becca would like to know about sibling fighting.
Wow, we are jumping. We are going from China to
it's like ping pong
to sibling fighting.
Pinball.
It's funny. My mom saw this question, and I just went up to the house. She's in town to get a glass of water before this, and she was like, "So what are you gonna do about that sibling fighting comment?" And I just started laughing. I don't know if she's referring to physically fighting or like. I honestly like. I don't know. Lindi and I, both of our 2 oldest are boys. My boys beat the living poop out of each other. And half the time they're like smiling. And the only way I can get it to stop is until one of them gets hurt and then they separate. So there's like that sibling fighting. I actually worry less about that than I worry about like the strong, really foul, like unkind words to one another. That's where I tend to react a whole lot more. There's a lot of that chaos stuff and that kind of touching and pushing when it's not done meanly that I kind of let slide a little bit more. But I really, really dig into the fact that words have power. And that's like one of my things as a mom. So in terms of how I stop that, I normally separate them, but that is 100% a conversation. That is a, why did you say that? Let's talk about what that means. And, slowing the situation down at that point.
Yep. No, I agree. And I keep going back to that, like we talk about like that sticks and stones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's, I don't know, like a physical thing will heal, but those words can be incredibly like detrimental to your brother. And like sometimes we're not perfect like at all. I get to the point where they all want their own room. And I'm like, sorry, like we're not buying an 8-bedroom house. Like it's just not happening. Like you will be sharing a room till you're 18. Yeah. So you need to figure out, because you got to live with that person for another however many years, and they just look at you like this. And I'm like, I get. And I think they really like to hear, like they think they're the only one going through this. And I'm like, I went through the same thing. Like I have a brother, and then they look at me, they're like, oh, you have a brother? I'm like, yep. Like Uncle Graham. Yeah. He's like, oh, you're your brother. Yeah. I'm like, I used to be just like you. Like, I remember we were in an argument and we were in our bathroom, and he came in with his baseball bat and bonked me on the head. And like, but like, that's the stuff. I'm like, you fight hard, you love hard, but at the end of the day, they're your family, and we stick up for our family. And but
it's exhausting.
It's
like
hard.
Literally and Lindi and I have talked about it. I know at my house from probably 6:45 until 8 p.m. it is like it's naked, it's not naked, it's wrestling, it's throw, like it is literally just lap running and total chaos, and it is leaning into it, making sure we don't end up at the ER, but like it's somehow how when they all come back together, it's like these little like tiger cubs, and they all come back together and they all poke each other in different ways, and some of them have had a good day and some of them are exhausted, and some of them have eaten well, and some of them have chosen not to eat dinner, and some of them want to take a bath and some of them don't, and some of them are anxious and stressed about something that's happening the next day. And it's literally just all of these emotions all coming together, and it's picking your battles and surviving the night together. So, okay.
I agree. All right.
On to the next one.
Ashley, why? And I might have got the question wrong because I just jotted down some notes. But happier with 5, with more versus less? Is that what she was hitting on?
This came up a couple of times. Apparently, I said at some point that I was happier with 5 than I was with a lower amount of kids. I think that it was in the context of sleep, that I'm getting more sleep with 5 kids, knock on wood, than I was at probably any other time, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I think at some point you just kind of lean into it. And I don't know if that is at number 3, you just reach so much chaos that adding more to the pile isn't anything worse, or it just doesn't change it. But I'm insanely happy right now, kind of with our family dynamics. It feels like a lot. I'm constantly still counting. Sometimes I'll sit at the dinner table and be like, oh, how was everybody's day? And like literally realize that we're missing somebody because somebody's like pooping in the bathroom, because apparently like dinner time is poop time in our family. But I don't know. Everything just seems to click right now for us. I know my husband wants a 6 because he feels like it's uneven, but
so this kind of ties in with Amber's question as far as like, and I think you can tie it together as far as how do you know you're done, or are you happy where
we
you
talked
are?
about
like,
this. It's hard.
Hard.
Lindi was telling her story. Do you want to share it? Like Lindi didn't really get the chance to decide if you were done. Really?
Yeah. I mean, that can go into like a birth thing, but so after my twins
were 5 and 6.
Twins were number 5 and 6, and I was 10 days postpartum and hemorrhaged at home, called the ambulance, went in hoping for a DNC, but figured it could be worse. I ended up with emergency hysterectomy. They took partial tubes or something like that. I don't even remember. But I remember waking up because we were only planning on 4. Hence the 5th pregnancy ended up being 6. I was overwhelmed, whatever. And And I remember waking up, I woke up on the ventilator and they had to pull the tube out. And I told my husband, I was like, what happened? And I remember writing on a whiteboard with my left hand some questions. And he just looked at me and he's like, I'm sorry, they had to take all of it. And I was literally like, thank you, Jesus. Because I didn't have to make that decision myself, because that was a very difficult decision for us, even having a fourth and even into the fifth and sixth. And it's so, I understand that it is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But that being said, as far as happiness, I mean, I think you can be happy with no matter
how many,
wherever your family's at.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, if you guys listen to the podcast, a few episodes ago, I recently had a loss, and it was kind of a pregnancy that we kind of jumped into. Eric really wanted a sixth, and I just kind of didn't really know why. I was kind of feeling it, kind of not. Just kind of one of those things that I was like, let's just do it. We'll figure it out. Then we lost it. And so now here I am. You know, normally right after a loss, most people feel this, you know, lack of something. They want to fill it, you know, they want another baby. And I think I felt that for a little while, but now I'm like a month, 2 months out, and like I have all of these like personal projects and company projects that I feel like are on my plate. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what we'll do. I think if we wait long enough, I think we'll be done. You know, it's so funny, like how fast kids grow, which is another one of those questions on the list. It's like even 2 months in development. So like Catherine in this process went from being 14 months old to 16 months old. Now, the difference in those 2 months is insane. Like she can communicate better. There's less screaming. She's sleeping better. You know, she's more of a person. So it's almost like, do we really want to start over again? Like, do we want to just keep moving forward? So
that played into, for me, as far as feeling, okay, like, well, you know, where are we good with? Like, how many are we good with? Like, what is it okay? Are we done? Are we not? And I can tell you, if I had one kid and I waited till they were off to elementary school, I would never have any more. Because I tell you, when they're all potty trained and they're done and whatnot, and it's just for me. Yeah. I am so far out of that infant toddler stage that I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's different. So that's why that's why mine are back to back to back to back. And I have six that were 7.5 and under. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have had that many.
There's who asked the question about child development, mental development. That one, like for me,
with the anxiety?
Just went straight to my little mama heart. Because it's something that we don't talk about.
I'm going to go find.
I don't feel like enough as moms.
Forgot to jot down her name and I want to find out.
All right, we'll find it.
I am.
But there was a question about how do we release some of the anxiety that our children aren't developing correctly mentally, and I don't know the specifics of what Heather's specifically talking about. But I remember distinctly, my first is a very emotionally driven child. And he was born in the back of a car. He had colic his first year of his life. But I remember sitting in the Latched Mama parking lot, and this was like 4 warehouses ago. I probably had 2 employees at the time. And I would only get like a 4-hour break. We had 2 kids, I think. I was probably pregnant with Caroline at this point. And I remember sitting in the parking lot, and I had tears coming down my cheeks. And I Googled, like, how do you know if your 3-year-old's a sociopath? And like, as I didn't know, like I had no exposure to like what developmentally kids do. And I didn't know that most of them turn into little shits before they like get better. And like you get these like little kids who are fantastic and maybe they're 2 and they have some tantrums, but then they just like start to figure out life and who they are. And they're sometimes selfish and sometimes they're mean. But I feel like if anything that I learned is that for every stage that feels like you can't get through it and your child's not developing properly, all of a sudden for most children, the light switch is going to flip and all of a sudden they're going to be great. And then they're going to hit another stage where it's the same thing and it's frustrating again. And I feel like nobody ever taught me that about motherhood. That like every time I felt like I'm getting to my breaking point, like from a developmental standpoint, and like I can't do this stage anymore, it's like something happens. It's like a light bulb comes on or something, we work through something, and then suddenly we're in like this happy place again until they hit another developmental spot. I don't know. I don't know.
And I also kind of read it. how to deal with anxiety around your kids. Like, is it anxiety over what's going on with them, or is it possibly your anxiety around your kids and wondering, is that going to affect, like, how can I'm not sure. So
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's so hard because motherhood in general is so hard. Because there was another question, like 2 down from that was like, you know, how do you know if you're messing up your kids? Like, how do you know, like, if you're doing the right things and if you're showing up the right way? And it's such a hard question because, like, you don't. You know, like, I mean, how do you answer that? I'm sure you have days with 6. I was reading some article. This is right. I was reading some article the other day because I've been Googling a lot about stuff in life. But, like, they said, like, a form of childhood trauma is having too many siblings. And, like, I really, really, like, took it to heart. And suddenly I was in this, like, rabbit hole that I was going to cause my kids to have childhood trauma because there was no way. There's, like, this study that at a certain amount of children, there's no way that you can emotionally meet their needs. And it was, like, depressing. Like, it was terrible to read.
It is depressing, and it was always a worry of mine as far as how many we had. And then as soon as I was pregnant with twins, it took me several months to try to grasp, because it's hard with 1, 2, 3, no matter how many you have, as far as wondering if you are giving them enough time or support or whatnot. So that has always been a concern of mine. And we've had the comments from my oldest, and then also from the 2 boys, saying that like why, like why do I have so many siblings? It is so loud around here. And it is hard.
Loud. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, those years that there was always an infant or a toddler around, I felt was even harder for them. So now as that stage is we're growing out of it, I'm really excited that we can kind of slow down and really make sure that we can try to meet them where they are. Yeah. But you know what, at the end of the day, like, all I want to do is just be real with my kids. I don't want them thinking I'm this perfect parent and I don't have problems and I don't have feelings and we have a really, really big feeler in my family that he's taught us an amazing amount as far as to validate feelings, and it's okay to have these big feelings, happy, sad, mad, frustrated, all that. And I feel that if you can meet your kid there and love them where they are and for who they are, you can provide that safe kind of foundation for them.
I mean,
but it's just so difficult sometimes.
Like last night at dinner, Nathan was trying to tell us a story, and he was trying to explain how he learned math that day with his nanny/teacher, and they were outside on the sidewalk and they were writing the numbers, and they were 2, 4, 6, 8, and he was trying to explain it to me, but every time he got to a point, and he was incredibly tired, didn't want to eat dinner, so blood sugar was low, he was tired, but every time he got to the point where, like, he was trying to get his words out, something else would explode. Like, some other kid would speak out, and he's my feeler, he's my emotional one. It was really, really hard to kind of keep him where he needed to be with that. But I can tell you that some of, like, my most rewarding, like this weekend, we just got through a weekend, I spent more one-on-one time with, like, the majority of my kids, and I feel so fulfilled when I'm able to meet them where they are. But I feel like that also feeds into another question, which is, like,
are we thinking the same?
We are totally thinking this is what happens when we work together so much.
Yep. Which one is it?
I don't know who you have the names over there, but talking about, okay, hold on, guys.
Hold on, where is it? Staying on task with kids. I think that's what the one. Yeah. So how do I? Yes.
How do you meet everybody's needs? Like, it was a question after
you
question.
You need to do things,
question,
but
like,
there's also kids there, and, like,
and how do you? And then I think that also feeds into, like, how do you have enough time in the day?
And that was from Leanne.
And supposedly it looks like Lindi and I have a bunch of energy, which is really, really funny because, like, yesterday, I mean, we showed up and we did the live last night, but if you guys had looked at us 3 hours earlier, Lindi turned off the lights in the barn that we work in, and so I could take a nap before I went and loved on my kids. So, like, we are right there with you, and there's not a magic answer. There's not enough support for moms. There's not enough community. There's not enough people saying, hey, you know what? Your shit feels overwhelming right now. You know what? Mine does too. And that's where I think we're lacking, because we all go on social media and we all see that people have these beautiful, clean houses and these wonderful dinners on the table at night. And they don't realize that, like, that's like 1% of the time. we were talking about this weekend, and I had my darling Caroline turned 5 years old, and all I wanted to do was have this great thing for her. And we had Saturday was fine, but then it snowed on Sunday. So not only did she have a pandemic birthday, but she had a snowed in pandemic birthday. The dog, we have a puppy who somehow got into some sort of poison and started having this like neurological thing. And I'm laughing because it was just total chaos, this neurological event where she was like seizing, and so she had to go to the emergency vet. So I literally walked into the house at like 5:30 without the dog, and it was Caroline's birthday, and I hadn't made a cake and I hadn't done anything. And I asked Caroline, I said, Caroline, I said, what can we do for dinner? I said, I want to celebrate you. Talk to me about it. And she looked at me and she's like, Mama, I want Taco Bell. And I took a step back and I was like, I mean, can I do that? Like, can I have Taco Bell for my daughter's 5th birthday? Like, she's only had Taco Bell like twice in my life, and it was when I was pregnant, and like we would go through the drive-through because it was like all I wanted. But I was like, you know what, we're gonna do it. And so I got on the Taco Bell app and I ordered a whole bunch of stuff. And at the same time, I went into the pantry and I made her a funfetti cake that was full of crap. And I let the kids decorate the funfetti cake. So it literally had probably about 3 inches of sprinkles on it. I took the Taco Bell bag and I dumped it on the table, and there was just tacos and quesadillas and nachos everywhere. And it was literally, I took pictures because I almost cried, because it was probably one of the happiest moments I've had as a parent, because I didn't give a flying crap as to what anybody else thought in that moment, except for the fact that like everybody was so happy. And I didn't think about the crap they were eating or like what anybody else would have thought on the internet if I had posted the picture. And like this funfetti cake was so full of colors and wonderfulness because her siblings had made it. And it was just this great moment. But like, I feel like in some ways we don't celebrate the crap. Like, we don't celebrate those overwhelmed moments. We celebrate the perfect ones, you know?
But can we talk about that for like a second?
Yes. Oh, okay. Are we going to dig in?
Yeah, we are. Just talking about this like pressure and motherhood and all of that. So talk about simplicity right there. Okay. You don't need some fancy party package at Jumpology or whatever. No, like they're kids. Like fun to them is something so simple as right there.
It doesn't have
making
to be
their own cake.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Pinterest worthy.
Pick some fast food, and it was probably, she would probably remember it. It was like absolutely that party, you know?
Yeah, and it was
so it's just about like simplifying, and I can tie that simplifying into other questions, but like
it was really funny. And then she came to me Monday morning and she was like, Mom, why is there a piñata and all of these decorations in the back of the pantry? And I was like, well, I had bought them and we were going to decorate and we were going to do a piñata, but you know what? Life happened and we didn't. But it's really, really awesome because one day randomly, we're going to have a piñata and we're going to have fun as a family. But you know what? It didn't happen last night, and that's okay that it didn't happen last night because everybody was happy and they had everything that they needed. Yeah. But that goes back to those questions about the fact that like, how do you do it all? You don't do it all.
No, you don't.
You know, you focus at the end of the day on what's important, and that's that your kids feel loved and you feel loved.
Can I throw out something really quick? It might help somebody, because as far as like the intentional time, okay, I have this to do, I have this to do, I have this to do, but this kid wants to play Uno and this kid wants me to, I don't know, do who knows what, wipe his butt or like whatever, you know? And I'm not a planner. However, if you take 2 hours or something and you sit down with them and make a game and say, okay, we need to do this. Like, this is something I want, mom wants to get done. This is something you want to get done. This is, you know, and you kind of put them together. You can say, okay, for 30 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes, that is 100% intentional time for Uno, and not worry about this. And then, okay, this 30 minutes, like I'm available, but you can do stamping or like find something else to do. And then this time, like you can't be interrupted. And I felt like it kind of extended my day a little bit into like this shorter little time block schedule, but at least like they could, or they're like, oh, but I want to help you with that. And so like I would dump the laundry bucket at them and they would like go through it. But I don't know, it didn't always work, but it helped me kind of mentally not look at that like, oh my gosh, like I have these things and my kids want to play with me for 3 hours and like, but didn't always work, but it helped me a little bit, and the kids sometimes made a game of it and sometimes didn't.
But I think we also have to talk about the fact that like part of life, whether you have one kid or whether you have 5 or 6, your kids are going to be bored, and you know what? You're going to disappoint them.
Yeah.
And that
They need to
is
be bored.
literally how they learn how to pick themselves up when they're teenagers and when they're adults, and learn that not everybody is always going to play with them, and not everybody is always going to build blocks with them, because you know what? Mommy may need to go to the bathroom, or mommy may need to go take a deep breath, or like, you know what? And you're only going to be a good parent if you give yourself that time to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I'm not saying leave your kids in an unsafe situation, but like, if you feel like all of a sudden you need to do story time with your baby, but you know what, you really just want to go for a walk because you know it's going to make you feel better, throw your baby on your back or in a stroller and go for a walk. You know, like there's not this extra pressure that we all have to do everything right. You got to let go of it, or we're not going to survive.
And there's a lot of whining in that like hour to 2 hours after being bored and there's nothing to do and I have nothing. But like the beauty that comes after that when they finally figure out and they start creating
Absolutely
is so cool.
And
that is a really good skill for kids to figure out how to be bored
and how amazing creativity is for just the mind and the psyche and
get creative.
Health in general. All right, what else we got?
Um,
Can we talk about the how did I convince Eric that it was okay for me to work? Ooh, this is a good one. Oh, sweet. Who is it that wants to go to nursing school? Do you have the question there in front of you?
I think Allison brought up this question as far as...
So, I think Allison at 40 wants to go back and be a nurse, which I find so admirable, and it warms my heart, and it's the coolest thing ever, because I think that for those of us who have complete fulfillment at home with our kids, I think that's beautiful. But for those of us who also feel like there is an opportunity for fulfillment and self-growth outside of the house, I think that that's amazing too. You know, I feel like it just kind of goes back to the sex podcast. You know, so much of it is communication, and so much of it is finding the self-worth to have the communication, and to finding the confidence to say, hey, this is who I am. This is going to be what makes me happy. And this is what's going to fulfill me. And I think it's really important, because you know what? You might be a mom and you might have kids and you might be at home, but you're also a human that has one life to live. Like, I mean, hands down, like you don't get a second chance.
Yeah.
You know, like, and just because you had kids doesn't mean that you have to put your one life that you get on hold. And I'm not saying that you have to be like, if you're fulfilled at home, that's completely fine. But if you're yearning for something and you can figure out how to make it work, and your kids can still be loved and supported, and maybe it's going to make, and we can talk about this, Lindy's working on this right now about just adjusting expectations at home and adjusting, you know, finding your voice.
Finding me, you know, I was at home for 9 years, nursing and pregnant for 9 years. And kind of towards the end of it, I was nothing. I felt nothing. So it's been like a journey for several years to figure out who I am and all that. So I would encourage others to figure out who you are, just like Allison, if that's something she wants to do. And I encourage her to do it. Communicate about it.
Yeah. And like, it's not enough to say, hey, I want to go to nursing school. It's, hey, I want to go to nursing school because this is the way I feel. And like,
this is for me.
It's okay. And that's what I feel like moms need to learn. Like, it's okay to be selfish. Like, it's okay to put boundary lines down and realize that, like, you're a human being. You are so much more than just a mom. And making yourself a priority is going to make you a better mom.
Mm-hmm. And I can get kind of corny with, like, kind of like the on-board thing, but I think it's okay for you to, like, sail alone and be on your own boat sometimes.
Yeah. I mean,
and
even
then come back together. Like, you know, and I think you have to respect each other through that.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You are your own person.
Yeah,
and if you work together, communicate together, but
you know, he's like, and this is the thing, like they're gonna figure it out, you know, and like that's the whole thing. It's like your partner will figure it out. If you choose to go out to dinner with a girlfriend, there's really no reason why you have to lay out diapers and you have to make dinner and you have to do all of these things. They will figure it out. It may not be the way you want them to figure it out. And the kid may be in backwards pajamas and with a pull-up on instead of the size 3 diaper because the siblings' diapers got mixed up. But you know what? Everybody's going to be okay. And if you married the right person or your partner is the right person who loves your kids, it's going to be all right. We just, I feel like, have super high expectations normally as moms. And, at the end of the day, the kids just need to be loved.
Right.
So.
And I think we always fight with our own guilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So... Allison may feel some of that guilt on her shoulder about this, but truly think if that's something for you and that's going to build you up and
you
feel
do
where you
you,
need to
boo.
be. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Don't let the guilt get you.
Any more?
Let's see. Grocery shopping and cooking and planning.
Ooh.
I think from Mary Jane, unless I got that incorrect.
Is that Mary Jane's?
Mary Jane's might have been dealing with chaos. So I might have forgotten the name. Forgive me.
It's all right. I think that there's a lot of them that I think that ask that very, very similar question. I think it might have been Rachel's too. All right.
Okay. I think we have this and then we have one more.
So yeah, do they tie into this whole, type of thing that we were talking about before?
Not exactly, but okay. I don't think they're like really, really long.
Yeah.
So.
For me, I try, and for those of you who don't do grocery delivery, for me, I try and just set aside 15, 20 minutes and grocery deliver. Walmart does it for $99 a year, I think it is. And I love it because like if there's like a last minute, like 2 p.m., holy moly, what am I going to make for dinner? I can like express it for like $10, which is nice. But I really have my like meals that I know the kids are going to eat. I have my meals that aren't really meals, but I know that I always have the ingredients for. And then I have my food that I know I can just grab from the refrigerator as well. So it's basically what Rachel's saying. I think it's just maybe lowering expectations that everything has to look like a dinner. Absolutely. And my latest mom hack, and I don't know if you guys do this, but I found it works amazingly. You put the dinner on the table and you have the kids serve themselves, which I know is not rocket science, but the amount that my kids eat now as opposed to before when I made them plates and I put plates in front of them it's incredible. And they have so much fun building their plates. Yep. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Anyways. Okay.
Yeah. All right, we have a few things. We always have a taco night or a Mexican night. We always have like an Italian, like lasagna and salad and breadsticks.
Do you make the lasagna?
Like no. Go with like the Stouffer's one. No. We're just being real honest in this stage of life, right? We usually have a breakfast for dinner. They love that. I like to do like a kid's cook, which it's kind of like, usually I pick one of the older ones because we're teaching them to make their own things, even if it's just pasta or they like to make quesadillas or like that kind of thing. We always have a leftovers, and then we do a pizza one night, and we do like a family meal from, we have like tzatziki's up the street. It's kind of like Mediterranean Greek, right? Yeah. We don't get too crazy.
Alex is really into cooking right now. He comes home, and if he doesn't have a Lego set to build, which that's going to put me out of money because he wants a Lego set like every week, but he has a Lego set to build. He's like my engineering one. He wants to make dinner. So tonight he's making dinner. I have no idea what he's making. We'll see.
That is really cool.
He's been really into like the Chipotle guac. Like he's at 7, he's like mastered the Chipotle like guacamole recipe.
Wow.
Which is really kind of cool.
That is really cool.
But he's actually starting to clean up after himself too. So it's actually, it's getting to the point where it's nice, but he makes a good mac and cheese too. I need to get him on the proteins. Got to figure out how to get him to make meat and stuff, but I don't know. All right.
But that thing was my mom hack for lunches with like 4
Yes.
kids before the twins.
Yeah.
I would get kind of a serving tray, and I would make 2 different types of sandwiches and put a few different veggies and fruits and some go-go squeezes and whatever else, cheese sticks, and I would put it on the table and be done.
Yeah.
I didn't make.
I feel like the weekends, it's breakfast, and then I clean up the kitchen, and then it's lunch, and then I clean up the kitchen, and then it's dinner, and like by Monday I want to scream.
Yeah.
So having them help themselves is key.
Yep.
One last question. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, we had a quick clutter thing.
Okay.
Just throw out one thing. My thing is simplicity. Throw it out. Give it away.
Jinx.
Done. Do it.
Less is
You
more.
won't miss it.
Absolutely. We just moved and I didn't move anything.
Invest in
toy-wise.
outside stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't invest in the little things inside. Get some good outdoor things.
Any of those like things that you buy that have a million pieces, they're all going to end up together in the same bucket, and it's going to be a nightmare.
Burn
like one set of Magnetiles, some kinetic sand, and some outdoor toys, and you're good to go.
Yep. Okay. Baby weight and self-image.
Ooh.
Not exactly sure what the full question was.
I think it was
remember?
how you. Yeah, absolutely. Totally, because it's
This
one
was from Catherine.
We literally get this every other day. How do you maintain your milk supply and lose weight and feel good about yourself? My answer is
I can share mine,
you work on self. Like that is my answer at the end of the day. I tried, I think the Whole30 milk supply dropped. I tried keto. I think the milk supply kind of stayed up, but I felt terrible. I really think you dig into self at that point. And I think that you maybe don't worry about the baby weight and you don't worry about your supply and you figure out what other things are going on in your life that may be interacting with the self-image and realize that your body is beautiful and it made a baby. And I know that sounds corny, but really, really dig into that aspect of it. I know for me, I hang on to 7 to 10 pounds until 3 to 4 months after I fully wean. And I'm not getting that off no matter how hard I try. So I just accept it and accept that I won't see my pre-baby weight, for a good year. And I try to settle into it. Thankfully my husband's very supportive. We don't really talk about that. And, it's not terribly hard for me, but I would really, really dig into self. I don't know. Do you have thoughts on it?
Mine changed with kids. So I gained around like 50 to 60, like every time.
Yeah.
And then my twins were probably closer to 70. So the first, second, and third, I was like a college athlete. So I would jump right back into. So I ran like a couple half marathons, like after my first and second. But as I got older and the more and more kids I had, I couldn't do the same workout. I was getting older, metabolism changed. So I could see the difference in how quickly, like I would always get down and then I'd have about 20 that I had to really work for to get the rest off. Now with my twins, there was a the fifth, or I don't know which one of them, but towards the end, the twins, I gained weight, pumping and breastfeeding, no matter what I did. But I think also at that point, I really had to look at it and not necessarily an end point, but say, okay, these at least 9 months, it's for baby. It's about them. I'm going to love myself for wherever I'm at. And kind of at that point, then I can make that focus. Because for mine, kind of 9-10 months, there was a really good balance between, some whole food, like real food, and it wasn't solely dependent on my supply. And at that point, I can switch over and say, okay, now this time's about me. Instead of, for me, having that kind of a little bit of a point that I would commit to and give versus this open-ended, like, when is it ever going to be about me? And that helped me to not kind of that back and forth, this isn't working, because that was just too frustrating for me.
Yeah.
So if I just stopped and said, this is for baby, and then tackle it another time.
And I think it's all related, and this is not rocket science. You can Google this all day long, and I'm going to sound a little ridiculous saying it, but it matters what you're putting into your body. And it's this cyclical thing. I know for me, right after I have a baby, I am 100% a sugar addict, and I give myself a time period. I know after Caroline was born, all I ate was, I would go to Starbucks every day. I'd put her in the car and I would go through the drive-thru and I would eat a huge chocolate chip cookie and a coffee, and it was amazing. But, you slowly learn kind of what sugar and what things do to your body. But for me, that was my coping mechanism. But if you can get your body off of the things that aren't making you feel good, although they're making you feel good, but they're not ultimately making you feel good, and you can get yourself in a routine of moving your body, you're naturally going to feel better whether you're losing weight or not. Like, yourself is going to feel better with better food in it and with more endorphins. So I'm not at all saying everybody get off your couch and move, and I'm not putting any pressure on motherhood. But if you can get yourself one day 2 days, 3 days, you can get yourself that 7 to 10 days in of just some great discipline, you will start to feel better. I mean, it's science, you know, it's so hard though.
Yeah.
But it's building a habit, and it's moving, and you might not be losing weight, but I promise you yourself is going to feel better. So,
and maybe just with time too, with each kid, I did better and better. Because at first it does kind of rock your world. I mean, your body's just, it's changed. And as time went on, and maybe it was just a growth in self. Yeah. That I was just able mentally to deal with that part a little bit better. Yeah. But I probably had other stuff going on that took precedence over that. It's
growth. It's all about growth. It's not easy. It's hard. Motherhood's difficult. But we are 100% in the trenches with you guys. So thank you for your questions. We are going to do a follow-up because I know there are some that we missed, but this is getting long. But we appreciate them, and we will keep coming back, and you guys are not alone, and we are right there with you. And in no way do we have it all together, or are we doing it all? So keep the questions coming, and we're here for you. Thanks, guys.